Flash versus Arrow. I just got done watching this episode, and man, as much as I was looking forward to this episode, it not only lived up to the hype, but it surpassed my expectations. Let's jump right into it. The episode began with, we saw this metahuman who walked into this bank, and he has these abilities where he can influence, or I guess bring out the dark side in you. He has these red eyes, he looks at you, and it just causes you to go mad. I mean, the people are attacking each other, trying to kill each other, while he's stealing the money, of course. And then the Flash shows up at the last second, and instantly when I saw this villain and what he was all about, I knew where this episode was going. Right after that, we get Cisco, who quotes Yoda. Wow. It was pretty amusing, but I found it more funny because it was just a mere few days since the Star Wars trailer was released. So, coincidence? I think not. The Arrow's grand entrance was awesome. I mean, him showing up, saving the day, saving the Flash's butt, basically, because one of the cops saw the red eyes and tried to shoot at the other cops, and Flash was trying to save them, and then Arrow shows up like a badass. Even Flash smiled this big toothy grin of like, that was awesome. Even he had to admit it. And then we see Big Belly Burger, Diggle and Felicity, who I guess that's their favorite food, which I don't know. I mean, the fact that there's a Big Belly Burger in every town is quite funny, but the fact that they're always eating these burgers but still staying in such great shape. Where can I get this burger? Because not only does it sound good, but yeah, if you don't get fat from it, then sign me up. And Diggle was hilarious in this scene, especially because he hadn't seen Barry use his Flash powers, so his reaction of just like, whoa, and being, I don't want to say starstruck, but just sort of overwhelmed with it, because I guess the Arrow TV show, yeah, they've dealt with people that had Mirakuru, so super strength, but not really superpowers. So his reaction was priceless. Barry taking Felicity and running with her to the lab, and he was going so fast he didn't realize that her blouse caught on fire. And she freaked out, and she took her blouse off, and she only had her bra on, and not only was that nice to see Felicity like that, but just, it was funny. It completely surprised me, and even Cisco was like, yeah, I'll never forget this moment. Wells and West, they both are talking to Barry, and they're basically saying, look, we don't trust Arrow. We've heard about his history in Starling City and how he's wanted for murder and all this stuff. And even though the Arrow is so far removed from that by this point, he's not a killer anymore, and he is very much a hero. I do like that it was addressed. I like that it was brought up, especially from West, because he's a cop, and I like that he's heard of this guy's history, so him showing up he's not happy with. And I like that Barry had to defend Arrow for a little bit. But hearing Wells say this, I know he had to keep the front, and I know nobody else knows what he's doing and the people that he's killed. But it was just hilarious. I was sitting there laughing at the idea that he is afraid of the Arrow, or he thinks the Arrow is too controversial or goes too over the line. I'm like, dude, please. Finding out that Iris has a list of 3s, I thought was interesting. Apparently she has 3 names of 3 people that she's allowed to cheat on her boyfriend with. And Oliver Queen is on that list. What a surprise. Iris is a superhero fucker. What do you know? She was in love with the Flash. I'm sure he was on the list before the end of the episode. And now Oliver Queen is on the list. I wonder who the 3rd person is. Aquaman? Barry finds out where this metahuman is, so he goes by himself to prove a point. And when he goes there, he does get affected by this metahuman, his powers, because at first it looks like he was okay and it didn't really do anything, but you find out that because Barry has powers too, that it's slowly affecting him, and it gradually happens, and you see him snapping here and there until finally, when he's face to face with Oliver, he just goes off and talks about how, I guess, he's jealous of him, his good looks, his fame, his wealth, the fact that he is so experienced and he is so demanding of what he wants from the Flash as far as training and trying to be better. So I kind of like Barry like this, not especially by the end. I mean, he was a straight up villain by the end of this. But I mean, sticking up for himself, I didn't like him sort of insulting Oliver and saying, oh, I'm better than you and you're jealous of me. I thought that was a bit much. But the stuff of him standing up for himself, him talking to his boss, which I know the real Barry would never do, but him standing up for himself was a pleasant surprise. It was something that I kind of liked, seeing the character a little bit more confident. Way over the line though, because then he started to get into West's face and talking about how, oh, you're the one who put my dad behind bars, and I'm just like, oh, oi, low blow. And it makes me wonder how much of this was the influence, or how much of this does Barry really feel. Then all of a sudden, Dr. Wells just comes out and basically announces that the Arrow is Oliver. And he says to Felicity, yeah, we're going to need Oliver, because basically I know he's the Arrow. I know earlier he asked Felicity to help him or to tell him, and she said, no, that's not my secret to tell. And he said, all right, I'll go find out myself. And 10 minutes later, he comes back and he knows. I don't know how he found out. Actually, now that I'm saying this, obviously he either went to the future or was able to see in the future. I still don't know exactly what it is, if he can physically go in the future, if he's from the future, or if he can just see the future, see the articles and whatnot. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's as simple as that. And I'm just now figuring out like an idiot. Let's talk about the fight, because the fight was the best part of this episode. My God, I was not expecting. I knew they would fight. I knew it would be probably pretty cool, but I didn't expect it to be this freaking awesome. I mean, you had the Flash, who was angry at Iris's boyfriend Eddie, of course. I think a lot of those feelings are real. And then Oliver comes in, tells them to run. They have just an awesome fight where he uses an arrow to tie up the Flash, and he says, you need to calm down, which I loved. And then Flash is like, oh, you need to hold on. And then he just runs with Arrow dragging across the ground. And seeing Flash use his abilities to fight Oliver, and Oliver having to adjust to that, I like that he was missing all of his punches and kicks, and then he finally like stops and then hits him. It shows that, yeah, even though Flash has powers, Oliver is still very well trained, very experienced. Like Diggle was saying, I know him and Cisco had a bet, but I was on Diggle's side. I agree that Oliver is well far ahead as a superhero. Sure, he doesn't have powers, but this whole situation is very much like Batman versus Superman. Almost every time, not every time, but almost every time Batman fights Superman, it's because Superman, something happened to him. Whether he was doused with some weird kryptonite or something that turned him evil for the moment, Batman always has to be the one to come in there and figure it out. Figure out how to stop him. This is technically his episode, and yet he's the villain. It makes you wonder what the hell would have happened if Oliver just wasn't so happened to be in town and this happened to Flash. Like, what would have happened? I guess Cisco was right. They would have needed that freezing gun. So the ending of the fight, I thought was a little funny, where Wells and West just show up with like the multicolored lights, and I guess that's what got him out of it. I don't know how they figured that out, or I don't know how exactly that even worked, but okay, fine, you needed to do something with that. Right after the commercial, I was shocked to see that they just captured the metahuman. Like nothing, we don't even see how it happened, it just cuts and we see him behind one of the glass. And like, oh, okay. I guess that's it. I would have bet money that this villain would have still continued in the second episode, and that's what would have made this story continue. But no, that's pretty much wrapped up. And then the next scene where Oliver goes up to Barry in that coffee shop, I guess it is. And he basically says, look, you need to let this girl go, Iris. And I like that he gave him this advice because he's right. You know? Yeah, the hero, sure, maybe the hero at the end of the day does get the girl, but right at this moment, they don't. And Oliver would know that better than anyone. And I need for Barry desperately to take this advice because I'm kind of sick of him staring at Iris with you know, loving eyes, and he's so upset he can't be with her, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, dude, I get it. You like her. You've liked her since you were a kid. You should be a little bit over of the fact that you're not with her, that you haven't been with her all these years. She has a boyfriend. Date somebody else. Find somebody else. And then, as Oliver and Felicity are leaving, he bumps into this woman who, she looked familiar. I was like, where do I remember her from? And then, when she brought up Oliver's mother, I said, ah, yes. She was the girl from season 2 that Oliver's mom paid a lot of money to stay out of his life because she was pregnant. And Oliver's mom did not want him to have that burden of taking care of a kid for whatever reason. And she left after that. And her calling her son on the phone, I guess her son would be, what, 7, 8 years old now? I think, maybe? Still, though, I like that a lot. I like that they just, very small, minor hint, but it's there. You know they're going to do something with this. That Oliver has a kid. Wow, that's pretty huge. Now let me talk about my favorite quote of the episode. Barry came to Oliver, and Oliver's talking about all of the stuff that he did last night, running up these tests and computers and information, and Barry was just like, do you ever sleep? Because it's true, like, does Oliver ever sleep? He's always up. You see him during the day doing stuff, and then obviously at night he's Arrow. It's like, when does this guy get some sleep? The funniest moment, because there was a lot of funny moments, it was hard to narrow it down to just one, but pretty much the whole training scene. Barry was being a little cocky, saying, oh, yeah, so you want me to just get hit by this arrow? Really? He's like, all right, are you ready? And so he catches the arrow, and he's trying to act like a big shot, and then the 2 arrows hit him from behind in the back. That made me laugh. Oliver was like, yeah, I've heard about your healing. I mean, he didn't know for sure. He's heard about his healing. He still went for it, though. And then the very, very end of the episode, the last shot of the episode was Caitlin's fiance, who I know was alive. I knew he was coming back, but I was surprised to get this scene. Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's cousin. Especially for a TV show, the effects look great. But not only that, they pretty much gave us who he is and showed it. This is what I love about what CW is doing now with these TV shows. Say what you want to say about DC and their movies and how far behind they are with Marvel, but they're kicking ass with TV. And I love it. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you saw Flash vs. Arrow. What did you think of it? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!